Welcome to Love It or Leave It. I know it's my job to sit up here and make jokes, but I also know that everyone here and everyone listening at home only has one thing on their mind right now. So I just want to say that I'm also terrified at the idea of living through another Star Wars trilogy. Anyway, let's get into it. What a week. Tuesday was election day. Maybe the last one. Get those I voted stickers laminated. They'll be worth a lot of crypto Trumps one day. What did you think the show was going to be about? As results rolled in, pundits and pollsters combed through the data and crunched the numbers, looking for any evidence that Kamala Harris was about to win, just digging and scratching for any hopeful clues, like someone close reading a 3-word hours late text for signs that he's actually in love with you. Unfortunately, like GOP senators to a Ted Cruz birthday party, that evidence would never come. We all presumed we wouldn't know the results of the election for days, if not weeks. And doesn't that sound amazing right now? To not yet know the results of the election, to be glued to MSNBC, eating handfuls of stale candy corn, saying stuff like, "It's not over till it's over." What a dream. What a stupid, stupid dream. But as the evening progressed, slowly things started to feel very familiar, very 2016. And much like the Sox in 2016, Kamala was a no-show. We felt the skinny jeans of history tighten around our groins once again. In the end, Donald Trump won the presidential election decisively on Tuesday night. Sorry, that was in the hopper for Kamala. It wasn't the outcome we wanted, but it was the outcome that millions and millions of people with kids and sisters and working long-term memories and everything, did apparently want. So that's crazy. But who could have expected otherwise after a 78-year-old twice-impeached convicted felon ran a campaign of personal grievances, out-and-out corruption on behalf of billionaires, violent fantasies about the deaths of his enemies, all connected by an unending torrent of incoherent rambling? The man simply had no weaknesses. Even worse, Jimmy Carter has to stay alive for 4 more years now. I mean, there's still a chance Jimmy Carter sees a female president before he dies, but it requires Joe Biden doing something awesome. Celebrating his win, Donald Trump took to the stage at Mar-a-Lago and had this to say to the American people.
Fire! Here I go!
Powerful stuff. The win makes Trump the second president ever to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, following in the footsteps of Grover Cleveland. Said Grover Cleveland, "No way, people are talking about me again? What's the context? Is it because there's a cool new rap musical? Oh no." Everyone immediately seemed to have a confident take about why this happened, and mine is Chapel Roan. Not only did Trump end up with a decisive win in the Electoral College, he's projected to win the popular vote, which would make him the first Republican to do so in 20 years. This is what's particularly tough. It's not that the system is broken. The system is broken. But also, more people wanted this than didn't. Also, Elon Musk is having a great week. There are a lot of tough aspects. Musk, who spent $130 million to get Trump elected, saw his net worth surge by $26.5 billion after Trump's victory. But is he happy? Congressman Lauren Boebert tweeted after Trump's win, "This is not the end, but a beginning. We have work to do. We need to ensure that our Republican majority in the House remains strong, and we must rally behind President Trump to secure his 3rd term." A pantless Boebert was then escorted out of the matinee performance of Suffs. While voting went fairly smoothly on Tuesday, polling places in liberal strongholds were disrupted by bomb threats from email addresses based in Russia. But in the end, Trump didn't even need the election interference. Russia must feel so silly. Putin must be like, "There I go again, being the extra." There I go again, being the extra. There I go again, being the extra. In a statement, Bernie Sanders said it should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working class people would find that the working class had abandoned them. I love Bernie. I appreciate the anger. There is a point. But wouldn't he say the same thing if Kamala had won? Hasn't he said the same thing for 40 years, regardless of external circumstances? And he's not the only one doing this. Everyone is. My point is, the election was dramatic and surprising. We can't all have been right about everything the whole time. Also, Joe Biden, who I am mad at, is the most progressive president in our lifetimes. He walked the picket line and went after union busters. He extended overtime. He canceled student debt. He put Lena Khan at FTC. The American Rescue Plan put thousands of dollars in people's pockets. He capped the price of insulin. He invested in manufacturing jobs and clean energy jobs as part of the largest climate bill in history. His administration went after banks and corporations for overdraft fees and junk fees. He delivered. And Donald Trump and Republicans opposed virtually every one of those policies at every turn and won. I am, as I said, mad at Joe Biden, and I want to understand the path Bernie sees for us going forward. But the problem here is not that Joe Biden abandoned the working class. The problem is perhaps even worse. He didn't. But millions believed he did, and the result is a president in the pocket of their bosses. Now, if what Bernie is saying here is that populist spirit needs to be more evident not only in our policies, but in our story of politics, I agree. Bernie goes on to say, will the big money interests and well-paid consultants who control the Democratic Party learn any real lessons from this disastrous campaign? Will they understand the pain and political alienation that tens of millions of Americans are experiencing? Do they have any ideas as how we can take on the increasingly powerful oligarchy, which has so much economic and political power? Probably not. Did he not see the camo print campaign hats? Was that not at least a step in the right direction, at least? Bernie, what? Let's be constructive. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, RFK Jr. reiterated his desire to remove fluoride from America's water supply.
I think Florida is on the way out because of that court decision. I think the faster that it goes out, the better.
It's interesting that RFK Jr. hates fluoride, considering that his voice sounds like someone dumped a bucket of teeth into a Coinstar machine. And you know what? We're allowed to make fun of his voice now. I know why it's wrong. I agree. We're doing it anyway. He sounds terrible. Yeah, imagine having the ear of the president, a president who does not have a single core belief, who is purely transactional, and who basically said, if you can support me, you can implement any policy you'd like, and this is your pitch. It's like if a genie popped out of a lamp, offered you 3 wishes, and you wasted 1 wish on removing fluoride from the drinking water. Kennedy also said that people ought to have a choice about vaccines.
I'm not going to take away anybody's vaccines.
Well, looks like we all freaked out for no reason. You can still vaccinate your kid. It's just that none of the other kids will be vaccinated. So as long as you don't think too hard about how vaccines work, we're fine. On Thursday, the Washington Post broke down the 41 actions Donald Trump has vowed to do on day 1 in the White House. Top of the list, bathroom chandeliers, baby. No, they're all awful. Trump's most often mentioned first-day action items: cutting funding to schools that teach critical race theory and transgender insanity, the largest mass deportations in history, and repealing Biden's electric car mandate. Personally, the first thing I'd do is check the White House to make sure Biden didn't leave behind any killer dogs. That's just me. Transgender insanity was also my favorite class in public school. I got an A+ on my papier-mâché diorama of Norman Bates kissing Buffalo Bill. Vice President Kamala Harris called Donald Trump to concede on Wednesday morning. So cheer up, somebody had a worse Wednesday than you. During their call, the vice president emphasized the importance of a peaceful transfer of power to the former and now future president. Said Trump, "Oh, no, yeah, for sure. The transfer of power to me can be peaceful. Sorry if that was unclear." Said the vice president in her concession speech.
Now I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
One last reminder of our moral superiority, one last round of applause for norms, and it's applause as we hand over our government to a dangerous, unstable, vicious man who will be in power the next time we have a presidential election and who cannot be chastened into showing the same spirit of democratic decorum. Kamala had a message to young voters in particular.
To the young people who are watching, it is okay to feel sad and disappointed, but please know it's going to be okay. On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win.
Not helpful, but you can't ever technically lose as long as you keep fighting was also the logic that kept us in the Iraq War for a decade. Also, this is a tough speech to give after a campaign in which Kamala gave it her all. But you cannot promise us that everything will be okay. And I'm not sure what that empty reassurance is worth. And maybe what we need now is the opposite. Will we make it through? I hope so. I do believe so. But it's up to us to make it so. People will be hurt. If we keep sliding back on reproductive rights, the women who die in hospital parking lots will not be okay. If the Trump administration attempts to deport millions of people, the American citizens whose spouses and parents are deported will not be okay. If they come for gender-affirming care, trans people may not be okay. The challenge in the next few weeks and the next few years will be in part facing the world as it is, not as we wish it is and not as we fear it is, but as it is. Former President Obama also released a statement saying this is obviously not the outcome we had hoped for, given our profound disagreements with the Republican ticket on a whole host of issues, but living in a democracy is about recognizing that our point of view won't always win out and being willing to accept the peaceful transfer of power. I love that everyone keeps saying this as if Kamala voters might get the wrong idea and storm the Capitol. Kamala voters are curled up in weary balls, watching their cats lick the butter off their toast and lacking the strength to intervene. Said the former president, America has been through a lot over the last few years, from historic pandemic and price hikes resulting from the pandemic to rapid change and the feeling a lot of folks have that no matter how hard they work, treading water is the best they can do. Those conditions have created headwinds for Democratic incumbents around the world, and last night showed that America is not immune. Immunity, not on my watch, added Acting Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. According to NBC News, Special Counsel Jack Smith plans to wind down the 2 federal investigations against Donald Trump in keeping with the DOJ's policy that a sitting president cannot be prosecuted while he's in office. We'll get him next time. On Wednesday, Senator Lindsey Graham tweeted to Jack Smith and his team, "It's time to look forward to a new chapter in your legal careers as these politically motivated charges against President Trump hit a wall," continued Graham, "and even if there is a small hole in that wall, a glorious little circle of a hole, it doesn't matter. Almost nothing could fit through that wall. Not a legal document, that's for sure. And even if you pass something through the hole in that wall, the person on the other side couldn't see who was pushing it through. Is anyone else getting thirsty? Is it hot in here? I'm Lindsey Graham." In other election news, Republicans took control of the Senate. After flipping seats in West Virginia, Ohio, and Montana. "Well, fuck me," said Chuck Schumer, calling the bagel place to cancel his celebratory bagel order and place a new order for consolation bagels. Ruben Gallego won in Arizona, as did Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. Democrats winning Senate seats while Trump wins their states. Everyone seems to know exactly what caused this, but for me, once again, it was Chappell Roan. I will say one point I want to make is because there's a lot of sweeping conclusions, and one of them is, is field worth anything? Is organizing worth anything? Are campaigns worth anything? Ben Wickler, the chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, someone that's been on this show, been on Ped Save America, he has done an incredible job organizing that state. And at a time in which the entire country shifted rightward by a bunch of points, Tammy Baldwin managed to hold that Senate seat very, very close. We really could have lost it. And if not for the organizing that people did in Wisconsin, that listeners of this show did in Wisconsin, the knocking on doors, Tammy Baldwin would not have won that seat. And that matters. We are. And right now, the question as to whether or not we retain the House will come down to hundreds of ballots, if not fewer ballots, again, in districts where a lot of people listening to this show, a lot of you knocked on doors and made calls and donated. That mattered. Organizing matters when we win. Organizing matters when we lose. We have to figure out how to do it right. We have to figure out what are the ways in which the Republican Party managed to score this victory without having to rely on field, right? Because we know that Elon Musk did not put together a vaunted field program to match what we did, right? They are doing something else instead of having field, and we need to understand that, and we need to compete there too. But that does not discount the work that a lot of people did, knocking on doors and giving up their time, and that was worth it. And I think we need to make sure we do not lose sight of that, because we're going to need you in 2 years, and we're going to need you 2 years after that. There's plenty of reasons to be discouraged, but not to believe that the work we did didn't matter. I just want to make sure people listening understand that. A handful of Senate races are still undecided, but Republicans are looking at least 52 out of 100 seats. If only Mitch McConnell were alive to see this. Several House races remain undecided, and while the Democrats' path to a majority is narrow, the House is still up for grabs. Just to reiterate, actually, even right now, if you go to Vote Save America, you can volunteer to cure ballots. Basically, that's people who voted, but their signature didn't match, or they didn't put it in the right envelope, or there's some other problem. You can help find those voters, get them to come in, and what's called cure their ballot, so their vote is counted. Those House races that are still trying to kind of fight for every vote here and try to eke out a victory, the people that are working for those campaigns need to be paid. There are people that could use the resources. So if you want to help in this home stretch to help these last few House races, go to votesaveamerica.com. You can donate, you can volunteer. And by the way, you can also do that volunteering from the fetal positions. That's a beautiful part about it. It will be a while until we know, so we just keep thinking positive House thoughts. Imagine Hakeem Jeffries holding a gavel. Imagine Mike Johnson's son catching him masturbating. The election results aren't all bad. AOC won re-election this week. Friend of the show, Sarah McBride, won her race in Delaware, making her the first openly transgender congressperson in American history. So the next time Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene scream at each other in the bathroom, they'll have to do it across a trans woman washing her hands. That's progress. Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware and Angela Also Brooks of Maryland both become the first black senators from their states, respectively. Could have used a willingness to vote for a black woman in a few more states on Tuesday, but we'll take what we can get right now. Their election also marks the first time two black women have served in the Senate at the same time. So, bad news, Ukraine will have a new national anthem. Good news, the Senate will pass a black female Bechdel test for the first time. Mark Robinson, North Carolina's Republican lieutenant governor and self-described black Nazi, lost his gubernatorial race to Democratic Attorney General Josh Stein. In an unusual move, instead of a concession speech, Robinson posted his thanks to supporters in the comments section of Nude Sad Africa. A little bit poignant. Back to his roots. Abortion ballot measures passed in liberal states like New York, Maryland, and Colorado, but also swing states like Nevada and Arizona, and conservative states like Montana and Missouri. Ballot measures failed in South Dakota, Nebraska, and Florida, though in Florida, 57% of voters rejected a 6-week ban, but a 60% supermajority was required. 57% of Florida voters wanted to protect abortion rights, even as Trump won Florida handily. Missouri voted not only to protect abortion, but to raise the minimum wage and require paid sick leave. Our policies are popular. We just need to become likable. If any likable people have ideas for how to do that, please, this punchable gay nerd, I'm all ears. California Governor Gavin Newsom on Thursday called for a special legislative session later this year to Trump-proof the state's progressive policies on climate change, abortion, and immigration. You just hold a container of gasoline up to his hive. I'm sorry. That's Yellow Jackets. Stupid. But TikTok teaches you everything. It's true. Mu Deng, the viral hippo star, predicted Donald Trump would win the presidency, choosing the former president's fruit basket over Kamala's. I think I speak for everyone when I say, fuck that hippo. But also, since it was correct, what else can we ask it? Anyway, congrats to Mu Deng on her new job as pollster at the Des Moines Register. Meanwhile, Edinburgh Zoo welcomed their own baby hippo named Haggis, born to parents Otto and Gloria. Tweeted the zoo, Mu Deng, who dang, introducing Haggis. Got her. Now tear him apart, Mu Deng. Make him regret being born last week. The zoo later posted an apology for comparing the two hippos. writing, "There is space in this world for two beautiful pygmy hippo divas, and we should celebrate them all. Sorry to Mudang. Let's work it all out on the remix." So you're saying the zoo apologized for being hypocritical. A cloned ferret named Antonia. That's right. We're doing animal news. A cloned ferret named Antonia had babies in Virginia, becoming the first U.S.-born cloned endangered animal to successfully give birth. Well, second if you count Grover Cleveland. Your response there is correct. This joke is funny and makes no sense. And that, we had a whole, I laughed when I saw it, and then I was like, what does it mean? Nothing. As for the cloned ferrets, just as scientists had predicted, no souls. You look at their little cloned ferret eyes, and there's just a void. Look, I know it's been a hard few days, but as Fred Rogers once said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, "Look for the ferrets." You will always find ferrets. The first wooden satellite, a Japanese spacecraft called Lignosat, arrived at the International Space Station on Wednesday. And this just in, everyone on board the wooden spaceship is dead. The cause, scientists say, is that it was made out of wood. According to two Australian scientists, the adage that a monkey writing for an infinite number of years would write the works of Shakespeare is not true. I know they're mathematicians with fancy degrees and fancy methods, but folks, I know they're wrong. I got monkeys writing this show every week. Why are you oohing? One of the monkeys wrote that. Instead, the scientists claim, before the monkeys reproduced the bard's writing, all of existence would end via the heat death of the universe. Which frankly would hit the spot right now. But then we're not really talking about infinite time, are we? The saying isn't if you gave a monkey until the heat death of the universe. The paper doesn't say the infinite monkey's thought experiment is wrong. The paper just says it's not realistic. And guess what? We fucking know. We know you can't actually do it, you nerds. There are many other logistical challenges to having a monkey working on a typewriter forever. Presumably the typewriter would need an infinite supply of ink and paper, and you need an infinite supply of replacement typewriters. And given the finite resources of planet Earth, we'd be building some kind of interstellar manufacturing operation to generate the supply of parts we need, not to mention the resources required to produce an endless supply of monkeys. It's a fun thought experiment. Could you maybe work on a new kind of battery or something? All the bees are dying. That's an issue that could get your attention. Anyway, I know you're just having fun, but it's been a hard week. And then I saw somebody else say that actually the saying is an infinite number of monkeys on an infinite number of keyboards could produce Shakespeare in an infinite amount of time. No, depending on your definition of infinite, they could produce them instantly. All right, rough, not instantly, as long as it would take to write one play. Basically, whatever the longest one is. Speaking of monkey experiments, authorities warned South Carolina residents to keep their windows and doors closed after 43 rhesus monkeys escaped a research facility. Don't need to tell me, authorities. I'll close the windows and doors the second those monkeys get inside. I'm not locked in here with 43 monkeys. 43 friends are locked in here with me. Monkeys. The monkeys escaped, it turns out of frustration when they realized what they had just typed. The oldest hath borne most. We that are young shall never see so much nor live so glongo. Fucked up King Lear on the last line. It's gotta be so frustrating. Back to square one for those monkeys. And finally, a raccoon fell out of the ceiling next to the Spirit Airlines counter at LaGuardia Airport on Monday.
To hold them in my arm.
Said it.
Right over there.
Said a Spirit Airlines spokesperson, "We can't apologize enough. That raccoon should never have been let out of the cockpit." All right, we'll be right back.